Altitudes. Our question reads, for triangle ABC, where A is the point -5, 1, B is the point 7 and 9, and C is the point 6 and -5, determine the equation of the altitude from point C. So before we talk about what an altitude is, we're just going to plot points A, B, and C just to get ourselves started. So A is the point -5 and 1, so it's -5 on the x-axis, 1 on the y-axis. Point B is 7 and 9, so that's 7 on the x-axis, 9 on the y-axis. And C is the point 6, -5, so I go to 6 on the x-axis, -5 on the y-axis. And then I am just going to connect my dots to make a triangle. Okay, so an altitude is just the height of a triangle. So when it asks me to find the altitude, we're just trying to find the height of the triangle from point C. So what that means, if I turn my page around and I look at the triangle from this orientation, C is going to be our highest point, and then the height is going to come down straight down at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to take my ruler, and this one, it doesn't go through the midpoint, it just comes straight down at a 90-degree angle. So to get that 90-degree angle, you could use a protractor to measure. You could use the end of your ruler and line the end of your ruler up. Or you could try to use one of the tick marks on there and try to line that up. So I'm going to use the bottom of the ruler, and I'm going to line it up with the bottom line of my triangle, and then just slide it over until it lines up with point C. And then I'm going to draw in the altitude of my triangle. So it comes straight down and then it hits the other side at a 90-degree angle. So I put the little square to show a 90-degree angle. That is not the midpoint of the triangle, right? It's not halfway, it's just wherever that 90-degree happens to fit. So I am going to turn my page back around. And the question is asking us to find the equation of that altitude. So what we're going to do is use our grasp method. So G given, R required, A analysis, S solution, and P present in order to do this question. So I am going to start with G, which is the given. The things that are given are A, B, and C. So I have points A, which is -5 and 1, B, which is 7 and 9, and C, which is 6, -5. And it is going through point C, so I am just going to put a little box around that to draw my attention to it when I look back at what was given. Required, what is the question asking for? It is asking us for the equation of the altitude from point C. So I'm going to write equation of the altitude from point C. We could also say that it's the altitude that passes through AB. Sometimes it's called that, but usually they state what the corner is instead. So, analysis. This is the tricky part. This is where we're going to think about what's going on in this question, how we're going to find the equation of that altitude, state some formulas.
Please excuse the interruption. Any staff who want to have pie and ice cream and whipped cream, they're welcome to have a little break in the staff room. Thanks.
All right, sorry about that. So we're going to try to break this question down. So I do want to find the equation of my perpendicular bisector. Nope, I take that back. It's an altitude. So I want to find the equation of my altitude. So we're going to start by saying we want to find the equation of the altitude. Okay, so to find the equation of a line, which is what the altitude is, we use the formula y equals mx plus b. So to use the formula y equals mx plus b, we normally have numbers to put in for m and b. M is the slope, so we need to find the slope, and b is the y-intercept, so I need to find the y-intercept. To find slope, we could use the equation delta y over delta x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But in order to use that formula, you have to have 2 points on the altitude. So I know point C, but I don't really know that point where these two meet. So I can't find the slope by just using point C and then this point here because I'm not sure what that point is. So instead, because it's perpendicular, I know that two lines that are perpendicular cross at 90 degrees and their slopes are negative reciprocals. So if we could find the slope of AB, we could use the negative reciprocal slope to find the slope of our altitude. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the negative reciprocal slope of AC. So I'm going to write negative reciprocal of the slope of AC. I used M, my notation for slope, which means I really do have to find the slope of AC. Now to find slope of AC, oh, I take that back. It's not AC, it's AB. I apologize. That's AB. So we want to find the negative reciprocal of AB. And then we have to find the slope of AB in order to be able to find the negative reciprocal. So to find slope of AB, I do actually know point A and point B, so I can use my slope formula. So I do have a choice. We can either do delta y over delta x using differences, or you can do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Either way, we do require 2 points in order to be able to use those formulas. So I do need 2 points. First point is going to be point A, second point is going to be point B. So I'm going to state that A is going to be my first point, and B is going to be my second point. And that's going to get me the slope. I'll use the points to find the slope, use that slope to find the negative reciprocal, and then we've got our slope. To do y-intercept, we use the formula y equals mx plus b. In order to find the b this time, I need to know the slope. And I also need an x and a y, which would be a point. Now, the slope we should be able to get from whatever we used on this side. The point has to be a point on my altitude. The only point that I have that's on that altitude is point C, so we are going to use point C, which is the point 6 and negative 5. So there's my plan. That's my approach. That's what we're going to try to do to find the equation. So now all I have to do is find my slope, do the negative reciprocal, find the y-intercept, and write my equation. So, solution. I'm going to start with the slope. I like to do the differences and then delta y over delta x. So I'm going to take my point negative 5 and 1, 7 and 9. How do I get from negative 5 to 7? I added 12. How do I get from 1 to 9? We added 8, which means the slope is delta y over delta x. Delta y is going to be 8. Delta x is going to be 12. And I can reduce that. 8 and 12 both divide by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So the slope of AB is 2 over 3. So up here, I'm going to make a note that this is 2 over 3. And if we work our way back up the chain here, the negative reciprocal of AB would be negative 3 over 2. And that's going to be our slope. So to get the y-intercept, we need to use y equals mx plus b, put in our slope of negative 3 over 2, and then substitute in our point of 6, negative 5. So I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. Y is the point, so -5. M is my slope, that's -3/2. And X is 6 plus B, right? So the point here, this is XY. And then there's my slope that we're using, the -3/2. So -3/2 times 6. This is secretly 6/1. So when we multiply fractions, we do numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So -3 times 6 is -18. 2 times 1 is 2 plus B. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we're going to get -9 because it's a -18. And then I'm going to add 9 to the other side. So -5 plus 9 is 4. So my y-intercept here is 4. So I'm going to write on my plan that the y-intercept is 4. So our last step is our present, the P in grasp. I'm just going to find some space. I might do it right here. We're going to say therefore. Our equation is y equals m, so -3/2, x plus b, which we said was 4. So we get y equals -3/2x plus 4. And that's altitudes.